Dear friends, in today's class we are going to discuss the classification of a preprocessor and some additional preprocessor directives. There are different types of preprocessor classifications. One is macro statement, one is include statement, and the third one is conditional compilation. Let's first discuss with the macro statements. You know what is macro statement? Macro statement is a name as a constant that is defined before the main function with define, and preprocessor is hash, and whatever the macro constant you define, it will replace at the time of running the program. It searches the macro and it will replace it. Why it is known as your macro constant? Because that value cannot be changed. Suppose it is defined hash define pi is the macro, its replacement is 3.145. Enter is known as your macro template. Whenever we call pi, it will replace 3.1415. Why it is float? Because it is a fractional type. There is no requirement of declaring it is a float. If you try to change the value of a pi equal to something, it will generate the error. And this is known as your macro template, and hash define through which we are defining, that is known as your what? Macro statements. Next comes to hash include. As we discuss, hash include is used to include the header file in the program, because whenever compiler reads the main functions open curly bracket followed by statement, if some statement it will find like printf scanf, it searches its header file which is defined in the hash include directive, and if that header file is not found, then it will display the errors as prototype required. When you include the prototype, that specific function will work. Here hash include stdio.h is the include directives, hash define pi is known as your macro statement, and compiler reads the program from open curly bracket to the main function and ends with close curly bracket of main function. Printf searches in the stdio.h header file, pi searches in the define statement. Here we clarified the include statements and the macro statements with the hash define. The third one is the conditional compilation. Conditional compilation means there are many conditional compilation is there. Suppose if some macro is defined, the conditional compilation makes to true. If a macro is not defined, the conditional statement makes to false. Hence, preprocessor decide whether include the statement or not, and it return the value true or false, in which they will include the statement if they satisfy the condition, otherwise the else part will execute. How you have to define? There is a syntactical nomenclature you see here. If you define something with a hash, then if you define is declare or is not declare, then if declare it meets to true, if it not declare it returns to false. Here it is defined. See, suppose I define hash define num 19. Num is a macro. If I give the condition hash if def, means if define num, yes, means the number will display, means the condition meets to true. If not defined, the else file will execute. Suppose num is not declared, means error will displayed, the number is not defined. And each if def is ended with hash end if, and the last part the printf will execute. Here the output will be the number is found and it satisfy condition. If num is not declared, then it will display number is not found, it is satisfy the condition, means error message will be generated. This is known as your conditional compilation. Means before checking the condition, it checks this macro is defined or if it is defined, the respective message will appear. If not defined, the else part of a hash if def will execute. If you want to run this code, just move to your turbo compiler, open it. Now you see, as num is declared, the condition, the number is found, satisfy the condition. Suppose num is not defined, then what will happen? It would display the error because num is not there. How the num will appear? In this way, the different types of preprocessor classification we have discussed, and one of the conditional statement like hash define and hash include we discuss, we can give if define, hash else, hash end if, that is known as your what? That is known as our conditional compilation, and we can define it by hash, and we have to use hash if def, hash else and hash end if. And some of the other questions is taken. Suppose I want to define three different macro x, y, z. One is carries integer, one is carrying string, one is carrying the float. If I appear x, y, z, the result will be 100, hello, 12.8. And hence the different macro can be defined. Macro can be used with the argument that is known as your macro with the argument. Just like function, x is the name of the macro, is user defined, 10 is passed, 10 is placed in A, and its replacement is what is written here. Whatever the condition or the replacement statement will be replaced here. Means 10 into 10 into 10 is 1000, 1000 will return to this place, and 1000 will appear. That is known as your macro with the argument. In this way, we discuss all the required preprocessor directive and its classification, and in the next class we will be providing some questions related to preprocessor and providing some solutions to the preprocessor. And in the next classes, whatever the previous questions as exercise or assignment given to you, we try to solve it, and then some of the competitive exam questions belongs to C will be discussed. Then we will be ending the C chapter, and in between some of the question discussion of C will be given, so that we will be going to the next programming sessions. Thank you. See you in the next class. I think this session is essential to you. Those like the video, kindly like it. Those who did not subscribe previously, kindly subscribe it. Thank you. See you in the next class.